I'm going to talk 20 minutes about games. I'm just letting you know. And that's not including your 15 minutes. So deal with it.
Hey, everybody, here we are again. I am Tim from Las Vegas.
I'm Sam from the Pacific Northwest. Welcome, everybody.
Yes, thank you so much for joining us again for another episode of still titled The Western Contingent. As we talk about,
I'm making an executive decision.
Yes.
We're keeping it. Unless
keeping
somebody gives us a title that we're both like, yes, that's what it should be. We're sticking with it.
Very good. All right. We are the Western Contingent, which will be here in the West at Dice Tower West coming up in just a little bit. So
Yes.
That's good. So Sam, have you had a good week playing any new games and stuff?
We've had an amazing week. And before I get to the games, again, I was joking about the 15 minutes. I'm not going to do that. But before we get to the games, we have a buyer for our house, and we are under contract. So we are done. That's a huge. I mean, we're still kind of in that part where we're under contract, but we still have a lot of. We've got to go get inspections done, and you got to sign paperwork, and so we're all in that busyness. But we're under contract, and so that's a huge burden. God was good, and we are absolutely set for that. So that's a huge plus in our book. We're just kind of waiting to see if it'll all kind of pull through. But I think everything that could hold up the sale is settled. So I think we're good to go. Closing is going to be end of March, and so we're if not before. So we're so super good on that route. How's everything going with you right now? I know you're busy with Dice Tower West, but how are things?
Good. I'm really glad to hear about the house. That is exciting. It's good to have that burden off your shoulders, because that way you can sort of move on with your new life, right, and leave the old behind. So that's fantastic to hear that. But no, things are good here in Vegas. The weather has been absolutely fantastic. It's so beautiful. And
am I going to bring my parka in a week and a half?
No, you are not going to have to bring your parka. No, you can wear
shorts. T-shirt, man. Yes.
Yes. It's beautiful out here. And and I'm just up to my eyeballs in preparation for the con. But again, I brought that about myself, no complaining. I love it. First world problems, it's great, but it's just a lot of work, real busy, and I'm real excited to get it underway. You know what I mean?
Super.
So just busy doing that. But life is good. Life is
great.
Good. I had been having the opportunity to play a couple of really, really good games I'm excited to talk about. And how about you?
Yes, absolutely. I've got two that I'll go over briefly, and that will start with one that we just played, not last night, but Wednesday night. I just played it Wednesday night, and JT got his Kickstarter pledge copy in for the Elder Scrolls from Chip Theory Games.
Nice.
Now that, my friend, we played through an entire, I don't know what they're called, if it's a scenario or if it's a, I don't know what the terminology that the game uses, but we played through from the beginning all the way to the end of one of the quests, that the main quest, we went through and did a main quest, and it was to find some Argonian tome in the middle of nowhere in a cave. And so we had 12 days to do it. And so we had a great time. It was, we were still kind of stumbling through some of the rules, so it took probably a lot longer than it should have. But JT knew how to play the game, but there's a lot of minutia in the game where, if this happens, you have to do this, and if this happens, you have to do that. And the basic way to play the game, going through the different things, is pretty straightforward. If you are savvy on Too Many Bones, it will probably be a much easier learn, but there's still differences for it, just based on what JT was telling me, because I'm not a huge, I won't say fan, because I like the game, but I'm not a huge proponent, I guess, of Too Many Bones. I don't own it. and I've only played it a couple of times. One time was not really a failure; it was just overwhelming. And the other time with JT was when we played Unbreakable on the channel. That was a real blast. But I think that was because the other time we played it with too many players. There's too much going on, and the second time was just me and JT. Anyway, if you know Too Many Bones, you'll probably have an easier time getting into, because a lot of the stuff is going to be like second hat to you, as far as where the information for the units are on the tokens and what they mean, and I don't know if they use some of the same keywords as far as that's concerned, but there was a lot to grok for JT, even with all of the experience that he has with Too Many Bones. But it is basically built on that Too Many Bones system, if I'm not mistaken. But it's super fun. If you are at all, or if you were at all interested in the video game series, the Elder Scrolls video game series, it has all of that IP to a T. Going back all the way to how each story starts. You're in prison and you have to break out, or somebody comes and lets you out, that kind of thing. So we had a blast playing this game, and we're both kind of on that road or that journey of enjoying RPG-esque kinds of things, fantasy-driven types of things, and it is exactly that. And if you like the video game IP, it's right down your alley. So, but I'm looking forward to giving it another try. We were already talking about what we were going to do the next time we play it. So, looking forward to that.
Very good. Yeah, we're going to have that at Dice Tower West in the Hot Games room. So a lot of people will get a chance to experience it there. So that's really exciting to hear that you enjoyed it. So that's good. And Chip Theory will be there too. That's
awesome.
There are badges.
Josh going to be there? Josh going to be there, or is he sending a representative?
Josh and Adam may make an appearance. I have made badges for them, so they awesome. May make an appearance. Yeah, that's good.
That's great.
So one of the games I was really excited about, I got to play, was Sancore. Mansa Musa. I can't remember the second part. You know how it's got the colon, Sancore colon, the pride of.
I'm going to look it up though. Go ahead, keep going.
Yeah, I don't know what the second part was. It's another Fabio Lopiano game. Who did Autobahn and Shackleton Base, Ragusa. Fantastic designer. He's a wonderful person too. I actually met him, got to play a game or two with him. These designers, when they play games, they're just on another level. They laugh. Yeah. They're incredible because they. But anyway, Sancore is you're teaching with students. I'm just going to say there was a lot. It was one of those type of games that the first time play, I think I've said this before, to me, it's going to be a 3, 4, 5 timer before I 100% grasp the game and get it and understand it. Right. Because it's one of those kind of games where there are 4 parts of the board, and literally by the end of the game, I understood 2, right? I was like, okay, I get that. And I get this. I really have no idea what was going on here or over there. But I really enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to that journey of diving into the game and learning it more, because I know it's my type of game. I know I'll like it. So I don't want to sort of talk about it, because I don't want to say things that are kind of not true. I don't want to say not true, but using hyperbole. It's still kind of, like a jumbled mess, the game. But I really...
It's straight up lying about stuff to y'all, man. As he says,
because
telling y'all mistruths and disinformation. That's all he's doing.
And I don't want to do that. But I really enjoyed it. It's right up my alley. And again, I am looking forward. We're going to have that in the Hot Games room too, and one to check out in the library. But I'm so looking forward to that journey, diving into this game, playing it, and making it one of my games that I'll be playing in the future. So it was really, really good.
All right, just to let y'all know, dude's talking about a 4.15 out of 5 for complexity game. This is like the heavy of the heavy. That's what he's talking about. But artwork by Ian O'Toole. Probably, if what I've been told by other publishers, a little bit of graphic design by Ian O'Toole as well. Because when people hire, this is what I've heard at least, when people hire Ian, he not only just gives you a bunch of artwork, he also helps you with how things look on the board, where they're placed, what kind of iconography goes there. He that's what I've heard at least. Maybe he didn't do that on this, but artist is Ian O'Toole. Fabio Lopiano. What else did he do? Did you say?
Autobahn, Shackleton Base,
okay.
Ragusa. Yep.
Okay. Yeah. When you said Autobahn, I went to Heat, and I was like, man, this don't look like nothing like a Heat. It's a 2.5 to 3 hour game, 1 to 4 players. And it looks like a Garfield game. That's what it looks like. It looks like one of those games that just came out, Scholars of the South Tigris, I think is what it's called, or something like that. That's what it looks like to me. This is a super heavy game. So when Tim says it's right down my alley, that means you better bring a dually to be able to take this sucker home, because it's heavy.
Yes, but in reference to what you said about a Garfield game, Shem Phillips, whatever, Fabio did this too with Shackleton Base. He likes using different colored workers for actions, and if you use the same worker for the same color action, you get a bonus. Like anybody can take the action, but the color that matches gets an extra bonus. So it has that action in it.
That mechanism is awesome for me. I love where it's a worker placement game, but the workers that you can place in these different areas can do some things better than other things. So you have different types of workers. It's not just a vanilla worker placement game. So I really do like that, but they do tend to be a little bit, those kinds of games that use different kinds of workers tend to be heavier. So, but it looks cool, and I can definitely see how it's right down your alley. We need a crane to lift that onto your shelf.
Yes, 100%.
All right. Well, my second game that I'm going to be talking about is absolutely on the opposite end of the spectrum from Sancore, and this is a game called Thingstead. Thingstead, Thingstead. And this is by Salt and Pepper Games. They've also done Resist, that solo game that was kind of popular, last year, I think. Still is popular. 25th Century Games collaborated with them to release that. And then they also did The Hunt, which was also 25th Century Games release, but it was a Salt and Pepper game. So that gives you the idea of the kind of games that this is. But Thingstead is a game that it's just a 2-player game. And Jess and I played it on the channel yesterday afternoon, I guess. Last afternoon. Who talks like that? Anyway. So you each are Vikings, and you are basically battling through influence to gain enough influence over the elders to become the next chieftain of your village, basically. So there's different parts of your village that you're trying to influence. There are 8 different elders around the Thingstead, which is a circle in the middle of the board that you can manipulate when you go out there to do that. So you're basically on your turn, you're playing a card out of your hand and drawing a card from the draw pile, which has 3 face-ups and 1 draw pile. So when you play a card, you either play it to influence one of the parts of town, one of the clans within your village, or you're going to play it to influence one of the elders around the Thingstead. And the game ends in one of 2 different ways. The first, when one player has locked in 3 elders, that will end the game. Or when the draw deck runs out and everybody, both players have used all of the cards out of their hand, that will end the game. And then you'll get points for the elders that you are going to, that you either lock in or you still control at the end of the game. And then you'll also get points for how many of the clans, who has the most influence over the clans that are within your village. Whoever has the most points is the winner. It's a really simple game. It only takes about 30 to 45 minutes. We started our stream yesterday at 1 o'clock, and we were done by about 1:55. And that was with teaching and with interacting with the people that were in the chat. So it's not a long game at all, but it's actually pretty cool. It's got some cool artwork. We want to play it some more before we actually give our final review of it, but that's going to be on the Dice Tower. The review of that's going to be on the Dice Tower. So keep an eye out for that one. But so far, we really enjoy the game, and it's a pretty fun experience.
Oh, very good. Very good. Well, the second one I want to talk about real quick is called Wondrous Creatures. It is made by Bad Comet Games.
Yep.
And they are the same company who did Life of the Amazonia. It's a really good game. Their games, if you get you sort of, the one thing about Bad Comet, I will say, is you sort of have to buy, I'm not going to say, I don't want to say have to, but get the upgraded components, right? Like, because it just makes the game so much better. Same thing with Wondrous Creatures, just like with Life of Amazonia. You get the upgraded components. It's so much nicer. Beautiful production, beautiful art. The gameplay is very nice. It's had like a lot of aspects of sort of Ark Nova-ish light. And it also has the same, to me, feeling as Life of the Amazonia, where it's sort of a long game. It doesn't feel long because it kind of makes you feel like you're able to do all that you wanted to do. It's one of those kind of things. One of the people I played with, that next day, he texted us and was like, "Hey, I just ordered the game." Like, he bought it. Like, he loved it that much. We're playing it again this Sunday at my game group who played it last week. They're like, "Oh, Tim, bring it back next week. We want to play it again." So everybody enjoyed it. Everybody loved it. It's a really good game. Again, we will have that in the Hot Games room at Dice Tower West to play. Wondrous Creatures by Bad Comet Games. So it's a card play, engine building, a resource management. It's just got a lot of good stuff. It's an excellent playing game, and I think people of all levels will enjoy it.
Yeah, I think that's one that JT wanted to play on the cruise, but he wasn't able to get to it because it's one of those games where you, he was not grokking the rule book very well, and but it's one of those things where you can't just sit down and learn how to play every game. You have to kind of some games you have to take a little bit longer to understand the rule book than others, and I think that's where he was with this one. He just didn't feel comfortable sitting down with somebody to learn how to play the game on the cruise. Now we very much did that a couple of days ago with Elder Scrolls. But it was just because it was me and him. It didn't really matter. But sitting down with a stranger and trying to learn how to play a game, especially one that's on the heavier side, the heavier mid kind of game. So that's why. But
but with that being said, I have to say that Bad Comet rule books are, I think, really good. I think they're sort of, in my opinion, they're a little over teaching. I can't think of the term I'm thinking of, but they say a lot, and I'm literally, they say a lot in other words.
Got it.
And sometimes when people say that, I'm just like, what do you mean in other words? I speak English. Like, you're just like, you don't need to say it again in other words. I understood it when you said it the first time. You know what I mean? So sometimes that annoys me.
Made me spit my coffee out, man. Yeah, I know. I get you.
Right? I mean, like, that just annoys me sometimes. In other words, I speak English. I understood what you said the first time. Don't say in other words. I get it. But they
triggers that you don't want to use with Tim. Don't use the word in other words. All right? Because that'll trigger Tim. Y'all be careful.
Yeah. But they say that a lot in their rule book.
I get you.
And it's just re-emphasizing a rule, right? That's exactly what it is, right? It's just restating, not even re-emphasizing. It's just restating it a different way. I'm actually a little bit, I totally know where you're going with, and more often than not, I have that same reaction to rule books that are a little too cheeky. They try to instill too much theme into how they're explaining how the game works, and they use all of these words that are congruent with the theme, but they don't really make sense when you're trying to teach the game. You know what I mean?
So I have the same kind of reaction to that kind of stuff. But I really enjoy theme in games. Don't get me wrong. But sometimes in the rules, you're like, okay, stop being cheeky and just tell me how to play the game. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I totally get that. But restating rules, I do that all the time in my teaches. My face-to-face teaching is that I'll explain how to do it. And then I won't maybe use the words in other words, but I'll say, something to the effect of, so it's like this, and I'll do it as I'm explaining it again, but using different words, and it often helps.
Don't do that to me, Sam.
I'm not going to do it to you, Tim. You better get it right the first time, man.
I don't know, that's just a weird expression, right? It's just so,
I get you.
So
I get
weird,
you.
right?
Yeah, I totally get it.
So speaking of playing games, I know we all have, when we play games, we all have our do's, our gaming do's and don'ts, right? Things we like, things we don't like, how we like to play, what makes us comfortable, and all those kind of things. And so what, like, Sam, why don't you start? What is one of like the big things for you when it comes to gaming that you, let's start off with like the need, the want, in your best world, sort of have to have that for you playing games. Okay, go ahead.
I got it. Let me put the game away.
Oh, really?
I don't need your help. Let me put the game away, because usually I have a very specific way that I want to put the game away, because when I bring it out the next time, I want to be able to set it up fast. That's my thing. I usually put my games away so that I'm able to set them up faster than they normally would be set up. And I do things like, sometimes if everybody has their own player stuff, all that goes into one bag, so I can just hand you a bag and you can set up your own stuff. And often some of those components look very similar to other components that are in the game, and people are going to just want to put everything in one bag, and it's more about, for them, getting the game off of the table so that the next one can come out. And I'm very much not that way. I would rather take the time after the game is over to put the game away properly, so that the next time that game hits the table, I don't have to sift through everything and organize it so that so now I can set the game up. I want it ready to set up as I'm opening the box. So more often than not, I usually tell people, because most players are good people, if I can put it that way, and they want to help you clean the game up. There are those that are like, oh, look, I won.
Yeah, right, yeah.
And you're like, hey, we got to clean up no, I won. I don't have to do that. They don't say that, but that's what's going on in my mind as they're walking away from the table with some other colorful expletives. Anyway, it's just one of those things where I appreciate the help. And usually I will tell people, especially if it's a game that has a lot of personal stuff for each player, I will say, here's that bag. Put all of your stuff back into that bag for me. That will help. And then once they're done with that, they're free to go. That's enough help for me. I want to make sure that everything else is the way I want it, if it's my copy of the game. If it's not my copy of the game, I'm usually that person that's going, okay, what can I do? How do I help out? How do I help? And all this kind of stuff. And I've had people tell me, don't worry about it. I have a certain way that I like to put the game away. You don't need to help out. And at that point, I'm done. I walk away, because I know how that person feels. And so I don't want to interject, my will of wanting to help onto their will of wanting to put the game away the way they want to put the game away.
Right. So, what's funny about that, though, Sam, is you're right, because like it's funny how it makes it uncomfortable on both sides. And what I mean by that is you on your side want to put your game away, you want to. Me on my side, I'm like, but I want to help. I just played this game. Let me do something. You know what I mean? Like, it's a weird dynamic how, how it does make people who just want to help and be part of it and help, they just put it away, makes them feel a little bit uncomfortable, because they sort of feel like they're not helping. However, it's what makes you comfortable, so it's kind of strange.
What I've usually tried to do, because when JT brings one of his copies over for us to do on the channel, After we're done, I usually ask questions. I don't just start putting stuff away. I say, where do you want this? Where do you want that? And where do you want this? And so that's the way that I can help. I get things kind of cornered away so that, all right, all of the stuff that goes in that bag is going to be right here so that he can then take that bag and put all that stuff. And then all of this stuff, that's how I usually help. So that would be my encouragement. If you have someone that is like that, where they just say, no, I don't want it to. Well, if you really want to help, start asking questions. Don't just start doing stuff, because that will frustrate the system even or the situation even more. Because now that person is like, I just told you I don't want any help.
Right. Yeah. Then it starts escalating.
So
exactly.
Ask questions. Okay. Well, where do you want this? Where do you want that? Where do you want this? And that will usually streamline that situation. You're still giving that person the control of the situation, but you're still being helpful. So I think you're helping both sides of that dynamic. But that's a big one for me.
Yeah. Yeah. So, a big one for me, and this is sort of like kind of like my main one, is I feel you have to narrate your turns. I do. And it's on both sides, right? It's on my side for making sure I'm doing things correctly, but it's also on the side of like one of the things I don't like on the opposite end of this is I played games where people are like, boom, 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 37 points. What
Jason Levine.
What'd you just
do?
Jason
Levine.
Is he like that? I'm like, what'd you just do?
You just described Jason Levine in a sentence. Yes.
Okay, yeah. So that just, because again, first of all, you can't learn. You don't know what's happening. And then when you ask, well, what'd you just do? How did you get 10 points? Well, I got this card over here that gave me this ability, which kicks off that, which doesn't. Well, I don't know that. I don't know all of that stuff. Just do that. So say, hey, okay, well, I get because of this card that does that, which kicks off that, which allows me to do that, blah, 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 blah. And the other thing about narrating your turns is, at least to me, again, everybody learns different, pays attention different, responds differently. However, so again, this is just for me, but I can multitask. Okay, I can work on my game with my head down, planning my turn, and with the ambient noise of hearing you narrate, all of a sudden you just say something that's out of whack, and I could be like, what? Wait, what'd you just say? You know what I mean? That just doesn't, because I'm like, no, that doesn't sound right. And then I make mistakes, right? People make mistakes and do things all the time. Yeah. But again, it's a group dynamic. And I just feel, if you're not narrating, if you're just in your own head, blah, 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 37 points doing things, you're not sharing in the shared experience of gaming. Like talk, communicate, explain, tell what's going on, because it frees up the other person to concentrate and just ambient listen. And it also just makes sure it's a double check on you that you're doing things properly, you're following the rules, you're playing correctly. But to me, that just makes a really enjoyable game. It's something I do. Like, I narrate, hey, I'm doing this, I just would like that same thing given to me. And most of my people I play with do that. And if you hear me ask you every single turn, what'd you just do, and make you repeat what you said, it's because you're not narrating. And I'll do it every single turn you take. What'd you just do? Explain what you just did. I'll do it every single time.
Y'all been warned, all right?
There
Y'all
you go.
Better tell Tim what you're doing when you're playing games. Otherwise, you're gonna tell him.
That's right. So. You're gonna tell me.
All right. Well, another thing that's kind of it's not a big deal. I guess I'll put it this way. We're kind of doing do's and don'ts here for game night. And one of the things that I don't worry about is having food around my games. Usually when we host game nights or game events in our in our town, we are supplying most, not all, because people will bring their own stuff as well, but we're supplying most of the games at the event. And I kind of, it's almost like it's an unwritten rule. Most of the people that come are careful with the food around somebody else's game. Most people. There are some that get a little, I'll see them, because we've got a game event tonight at Steamers West, and one of the things that they offer is flatbread pizzas, and they're super good. And that's one of the selling points for the game night is come have some of their awesome flatbread pizzas and play some games. And so I'll see people that are eating this nasty, sloppy, thing. And then they're going right from putting the piece of pizza down to touching one of my, and I'm like, oh. But at the same time, I'm of the opinion of, look, I want people to have fun. I want people to, and if I have to, I'll replace the game. If it gets messed up, I'll replace it. And you know how many games I've had to replace?
Zero. There you go. Uh-huh.
I've never had to replace any of my games because none of them have ever gotten damaged enough to where I needed to replace, except for one, and it was my fault, so it doesn't count. But it was one of my the Forest Shuffle expansion. I spilled drink all over. I think it was coffee. I always have my coffee, so I spilled coffee over Forest Shuffle, the Alpine expansion, and I had to replace that. That's the one singular one game that I've had to replace out of my over the last few years. And so it's not a big deal for me. And there's always the joke, no Cheetos, that kind of stuff. There's always that kind of thing. And I get having that conversation with people who are in your gaming group. Let's be careful. Let's not use these certain kinds of foods and all of that kind of stuff. I get that. I totally do. We just don't make a big deal out of it. Usually at the church, gaming events, we are supplying dinner for the people that come, and we don't want to tell them you can't play your game and eat your food at the same time. More often than not, most of them are very, they have their plate of food and it's sitting well away from the game, or it's even sitting on another chair, not even on the table. And people just do that normally, regularly. So I don't ever really have to have that conversation. Usually it's younger people that we have to have that conversation with, but very few and far between have we ever had to. So this is not a big deal for me. I don't care if you eat food around my games. Generally speaking, most people are consider the fact that it is not their stuff, and so they are more careful around it than they normally would be. So that's one for me. That's a don't care about me.
Yeah, and you're right. And some people, it's a really big thing, especially drinks, right? You got to be really careful about drinks because one little accident can ruin a whole game. Like you say, you get a little pizza grease on a card or something, whatever. Okay, probably a little thing, but yeah, drink can ruin a whole game. So you do have to be careful.
Yes, it can. Yep.
So I just learned this. One of the gaming groups I've just recently been, they use this term a lot, and I had never heard it before. And maybe just because I ignored it, I didn't understand what it meant, and I could have heard it before. And you may know what this means. And I asked somebody what it meant, and I even forgot what it meant. Retcon.
Oh yeah, retcon. You are going. You're going backwards. You're changing something that you did in the past.
Correct. But what is it short for? It's like retro control.
I don't know. I have no idea. I'm the people that I've heard it from, I believe, have a military background, so it might be a military, because military people do this all the time. They have acrostics. They use acrostics all the time.
Yes,
and they shorten words down because it's just a style of communication within the military. So
so it does stand for something. Now, I'm not saying I don't do this. I try not to, but there comes a point where it becomes the player you are, right? There are some players who it's like, oh my God, he's the retcon player. Because, every turn, last turn I didn't do this. I did blah, 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 blah. Go back. If you get to a point where you play a game regularly with the same group, that it should be sort of like kind of a rule. Hey, listen, guys, no retcon. There has to come a point where mistakes are made. I get it. Just live with it. I mean, but it could go to the facts, Sam, that some people, I guess, winning or their performance in a game really means a lot to them, right? I am not like that. I mean, if I win or lose, I'm going to feel the same as before I started the game night as after. It makes no difference in my world whether I win or lose. I am enjoying the experience, right?
Sure.
But to some people, it's real important that one move makes them win or lose a game. Well, I don't know. But again, it's just one of those kind of things. Sometimes just live with the mistake. Be mad at yourself. And however, also with the retconning or whatever, if you're going to live with the mistake, then live with it. And you don't need to broadcast it very loudly for the rest of the game. Oh, if I had done this 2 moves ago, I'd have been here. I'd have had that. Okay, we get it. Whatever. You didn't retcon. You but we don't need to keep hearing. You know what I mean? So it's just one of those whole kind of things that, listen, just, if you learn for the next time, right? And again, I'm not saying I am immune from doing this. I do sometimes. Oh, I forgot a resource. Hey, you guys, do you mind? I try not to. And more than not, I will honestly say this, vastly more than not, I just suck it up. I'm like, I shouldn't have done that, right? Oh, shoot.
I'm telling Tom.
But I vastly do that more than I just will take something. Because I just feel if it's minor, oh, you know what, guys? I forgot to take my brick last time. Do you mind? Because of this card? Yeah, okay, great. I'll take it. It's no big deal. But to do like an elaborate take back or do this or do that, it just gets annoying after a while.
That's where my allowance of it usually rests. How much of a retcon, how many different things is this going to affect if we roll back to this retcon? And I did look it up. Retcon is, it stands for retroactive continuity. It is actually a film, television, or literary piece of work where a new piece of information that imposes a different interpretation on previously described events, typically used to facilitate a dramatic plot shift or an account for an inconsistency. So that's what retroactive continuity means. And it's basically used by authors and creators to increase their creative freedom. That's where it comes from. So it's used in our situation as retroactive continuity. Well, I'm going to go back and do this, and everything else will stay the same since then, but this one thing will shift.
I'm just really, what we need right now is we need that star with the rainbow. The more you know.
That's kind of what we're talking about here. And really it comes back to, for me, what I was talking about earlier. How much is this going to shift? How much is this going to change? If it doesn't change very much, go ahead and do it. But if I have to redo my turn and the person in between you and they have to redo their turn so that you can go back and do, sorry, too late. Another thing that we usually try to do is that you can change what you've done at any point until the other person, or rather the next person, has done their turn or begins their turn. Because I also don't want to get into this situation where, well, I'm going to start doing this. Oh, crap, that would have been really good for me to do. So I'm going to do that first. No, too late. Yeah, you've already done your turn. This person's starting their turn. They've been thinking about what they're going to be doing while you were doing what you were doing. And maybe because you didn't choose to go here, that's what they want to do. So now you can't change that. So usually it comes down to how big of a shift is this going to cause? Are we just talking about like minor ripples, or are you talking about tsunami effect where now the 3 people that have now gone after you have to redo what they've done?
Right.
That's usually my moniker.
So that's again, it's one of those kind of things I said I'm guilty of. But vastly, I would say 80% of the time, I just suck it up.
Small stuff. Yeah. And that's one of the things. Usually, for me to want to retcon, it's like I've realized that I've done something galactically stupid, and I've done the math wrong, or whatever. And it's like there's no way a competent person playing the game, which usually I am not, would choose to do what I just did.
Right.
So do you mind if I change it? And usually people are like, yeah, that was pretty stupid. Go ahead and change it. It's that kind of stuff. There is that point at which even I will be like, nope, it's going to change too much. I'm just going to live with it. No big deal.
No big deal, and move on. Well, yeah, and again, we could probably go on and on and on about these things, right? Because
Certainly.
everybody, just like in life, right? Everybody does things in life that makes them comfortable, how they do things or whatever. And it comes the same way with gaming, right? We all have our little quirks, our little whatevers that just make it a more enjoyable, more uncomfortable experience, a more comfortable experience for us while we're at the table. But anyway, leave in the comments what you guys, what are some of your gaming do's and gaming don'ts, or gaming sort of must you would like to see or whatever, and let us know what they are. You know, it's open for discussion. Absolutely. And also, last but not least, since this is going to be aired right before the convention, Sam and I will be doing a panel at the convention. The title is a top 10 like small pack games you can put like in a backpack, a glove compartment, travel game. Yeah, backpack games to bring with you. And we'll also be doing a Q&A if we have time or whatever about some of the topics and issues that we talk about here on the show. So please, if you're coming to the con, come prepared to learn about our favorite backpack travel games, and also maybe some questions for us.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Looking forward to it as well. It's going to be a fun time.
It really, really is. And it'll be great seeing you, Sam, hanging out with you. But for now, folks, we do have to go. And again, as always, thank you for joining us. Please like, thumbs up, all that kind of stuff. Leave comments. It really helps the channel, really helps us get feedback and all that kind of stuff. And we really, really appreciate you spending the time with us here. But for now, from Las Vegas, I'm going to say goodbye. I'm Timm Metivier.
From the Pacific Northwest, see you guys and gals on the flip side.
Bye, everybody.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you like this review or whatever you just watched, wasn't it amazing? Check out our channel, Dice Tower. We have all kinds of things. We review games, we do top 10s, we play games live. It's all about board games, but especially the people who play them. Check out Dice Tower YouTube channel.